bad.
Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Fan Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
If you're a fan of comic books and comic book conventions, Daytona Beach Comic Con needs to be on your list of must-attend events. It's a show that actually focuses on comic books. Imagine that! This year's event is happening on Saturday, September the 6th, and Sunday, September the 7th. Silverline creators will be there, so we'll see you at the show. If you find yourself in the Orlando area, and let's be honest, doesn't everyone come to Orlando for the House of Mouse? Head over to Coliseum of Comics to get your comic book fix. Be sure to check out their location on East Colonial Drive, where they carry a wide selection of independent comics, including Silverline books. Stop by and don't forget to tell them Silverline sent you. Hey, if you're an independent comic creator looking to get your comic printed, look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our comics and do a fantastic job. They can even print special edition covers. When you reach out to them, be sure to tell them Silverline sent you. Looking for a bold way to boost your business? Advertise with Silverline Comics, reaching readers across the U.S. and around the world. Affordable rates, passionate fans, and national and international exposure, all packed inside thrilling, action-packed comics. All ads must be PG-13, perfect for reaching all ages. Spots are limited. Grab your ad space today and become part of the adventure. Silverline Comics, where adventure lives and your brand thrives. Email us at silverlinepublishingllc@gmail.com for more information. And make mine Silverline.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kelber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday nights as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Hey, see, it's weird because Barb, you're in the left corner, and that's normally the Roland spot. So I'm waiting.
Oh.
I'm waiting for you to talk. Hi, everybody.
Oh no, you're
Tom Mason is here, substituting for Roland Mann, who is at the Heroes Con in North Carolina, and we wish him well. He has not communicated to any of us about how well he's doing, what he's done, or what food he has eaten. So we know nothing. We'll hit him up.
He did put out one.
He put one video out.
You couldn't.
He did.
Couldn't hear.
What was he doing?
Meeting Hyper Potato for the first time.
He
Whoa.
did. Yeah.
Wait, that's like matter meeting antimatter.
Exactly.
Oh.
He had to turn his volume up like all the way to hear what he was saying. It was.
All right.
I tried to send him a note. It's like, Roland, you got to talk into the microphone. Something.
Roland needs a teenager to follow him around and do all of his tech work for him. That's
something.
So, all right. Mike Likes Comics is joining us. Hi, Mike. Good to see you again.
Hey, man.
Matt, I mean, not Mike. But we'll go around in order. Barb Kalberg is here today. She's running the board because Roland is gone. Hi, Barb.
hello. I'm pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, punching the knobs, turning the knobs.
Punching the knobs, pressing the buttons.
Barb is the creator of Divinity, which is published by Silverline. She's the creator, the writer, and the inker.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe you can still find Divinity #1 in shops if you're lucky, right?
It should still be out there. I'm not sure if it's been delayed or anything because of the mess, but it should be there.
Yeah,
I'm currently inking and coloring number 5.
Wow.
Number 6 and 7 is penciled, and I need to write number 7.
Cool.
Or no,
Excellent.
8. Number 8.
you were not only on time, you were way ahead.
No.
It's like feels like you're way ahead. You could say yes.
Okay. Yes. I am.
In indie terms, that's a monthly schedule.
Yeah. Yes, it is. That's right. And we're also joined by Mr. Thomas Florimonte Jr. Hey, Tommy, how you doing?
Howdy do. How's everybody doing?
Really good.
It's hot.
Are you guys as hot as it is here in Orlando this weekend? It's been
Yeah, it's
upper
97 in
mid-
the shade.
90s. Ooh, been some hot. We went to Magic Kingdom yesterday, and that was a bad idea, but we had fun.
This is Wisconsin too. It's 97 in the shade and so muggy.
I'm
Yeah,
in
humidity's awful. Yeah.
I'm in southern BC, and I just put away my snow shovel, so I'm I'm aces.
You're making snowmen outside.
We are also joined by Mr. Mike Belcher, who did a con this Saturday in Danville, Kentucky. Welcome, Mike.
Howdy, everybody. But yep, I did. It's a good time.
Tell us, spill the beans. Let's go.
Well, it's a second year con. I got invited to as a guest. It was, they were very nice. They put on a nice little spread as far as, we got a nice big, huge 8-foot table.
Nice.
Plenty of room there.
Nice.
And it about what you expect from a small show. Most people didn't really know what to expect. They came in and it was, I would say 70-30, the crafts and the Etsy and the whatever. And then, the other part were the comic book guys. But the comic book guys were he tried his best to make us the star of the show. But again, those people, they came there not knowing what to expect. And those who actually stopped, all the other comic book guys I talked to, they had a good show. I had a good show. I measure success by
Pops.
Hey, Pops.
Hey, Pops.
I measure success if I paid for gas and I was able to go to Olive Garden afterwards. So
yes,
and didn't have to use anything but what I made at the con. I think I sold about 6 sets of Man in the Mask, which I thought was extremely. I'm not about to gripe about that. That's
right.
About $20.
It's not bad. Would you do it again next year?
Oh heck yeah. I would, and I hopefully by next year it would grow some more because the from what I understood talking to everybody else, it was in a much smaller venue last year. This was a bigger venue. This was at what they call a sports center.
Nice.
Which is basically 2 basketball courts, spliced together.
Right.
With an arcade. I was very tempted by the arcade.
I saw the picture that you posted of all the pinball machines, and
it was very tempting. But I still
got slow. You went over there, did some.
I thought about it, but I stayed busy, and then like I said, it was a good time with Aiden. We were able to sit there, and he was drawing the entire time. And
nice.
And I said I was able to. I met some new comic book people, which is always a great thing. I love that. And then I was on a panel about making comics. So
nice.
It was a good time. I no complaints. Again, looking forward to another one.
So does your son have a good time?
Oh heck yeah, he loves it. He gets to roam around.
Right.
He can sit there and draw, and then when he's done, it's like I'll be right back. And so he makes a circle. And over the years, we've been going to cons for 8 or 9 years doing this. More people know him than they know me because he gets to go circulate and talk, right. and he gets to my dad's over here and I color and I draw myself, and so he gets to hype himself more. I end up going over there when everybody's tired, or it's like, oh right. Yeah, you're Aiden's dad. Yeah, yep, that's me.
Yep. I am always stuck at the booth because I'm the one that has to sign the autographs.
Exactly.
That's right. People wait in line for you.
Yep.
Well, sometimes.
Well, I mean, they can't find you if you're not at your table.
I am always extremely blown away when somebody shows up at the show and says, I came specifically to see you and I dug out all my books from my collections for you to sign. And I'm just like, wow, that is the best feeling.
Isn't that the craziest thing? Because I never, before I got into comics, I didn't expect that kind of thing. And then I was into comics, and then people would come up and say, I'm here for you. I'm here for, you have to sign my thing that you did. And it's still, and you're right. It does blow me away because I don't expect that because I don't see it as a celebrity thing. But then somebody comes up and says, I need you to sign something. It's like,
I brought
I've
stuff
got-
for you to sign. That's so cool.
yeah.
I've got something of yours from 1989. Wow, I don't even remember what I was. Actually, I was working for Malibu, but Malibu
Right,
in
you were.
1989.
My fear is that they will ask me questions that I can't answer because my memory is fuzzy, and it's like, you did this thing in 1989. Tell me about it. It's like, I can't even tell you what I had for lunch yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked on over 200 titles. I don't remember about a third of
Right.
them. You know,
Page 6, panel 3. Tell me about that.
yeah.
I got nothing. So no, but I'm always pleased, but I am also always astounded that anybody would come up and say, "Hey, sign something." And I never understand the guys that are grumpy about this.
Yeah.
Because
No.
I never it's because when I was a kid, I never expected it, and now I'm just always grateful that anybody would still be interested in anything that I did. And even if I'm, if I'm busy or I'm talking to other people or I'm, whatever, I've had people ambush me as I was coming off a panel or whatever. And it's like, I'm still fascinated by it. I'm not, it actually picks me right up as opposed to make me grumpy.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're not gonna, if you're gonna be grumpy about it, so why'd you go?
Right.
as the pro, why'd you even go if you're not gonna enjoy it or not want to be there? Why? That's kind of silly to
Because I'm at the con.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm at lunch or I'm at a movie with somebody. It's that I'm at
not
a
at
con
the grocery store
is,
and somebody says, "Here, Tom, can you sign
Right.
these books?" And like, I'm trying to go and buy some bologna. Leave me alone.
But even if I was at the grocery store, I think I would still be a good sport about it.
I actually, after a show once, I was leaving, going to my car, and somebody come up to me and he said, wait. I didn't get a chance to see you at the show. I have some books of yours that I want you to sign. And I'm like, yeah,
And
sure.
you shut the door in their face.
and had an entire long box of my books. I mean, and they weren't repeats either. He wasn't like getting them to resell. They were his own collection. And I stood there, and on the trunk of my car, I signed every book in that long box.
Yeah.
Because I mean, as I tell people, I says, I am grateful to my fans because they're the ones that put a roof over my head and food on my table.
Yeah. And that person made that tremendous effort. Mm-hmm. And they will talk about that in a positive way forever. So,
yeah, they made the effort to stalk you in through the parking lot and track you down.
Yeah,
they know what your tag number is. They're going to be able to figure out where you live.
The only time I really got upset was somebody from New York showed up on my front doorstep here in Wisconsin.
No, that's bad.
That's
bad. So Matt Likes Comics weighs in. Alan Moore decided he was never going to a con again when a fan followed him into the bathroom. Well, that's just because he has insecurity about his manhood. That's
I think
not,
that's what it's over.
that's
what if the guy had to go?
He could be a shy peer.
That's right. Yeah, because if I was a shy peer, then that would bother me. But I'm a guy, so the world is my toilet. Sorry, I'm off topic now.
Yep, and on that note.
So on our real topic tonight, we're talking about everybody's favorite comic book TV series, TV shows. And there have been, from the early days when there was just like one or two in the 50s and 60s, now there's suddenly 100. And I was looking at a list this weekend and it's like, well, half of them I haven't even seen. And about a fourth of them I didn't even know existed because they keep coming faster than I could keep track, which when I was a kid, I thought that would never happen. I never thought. I was used to one TV show based around comics or superheroes or science fiction a year. And that would usually last one season, maybe two if we were lucky. And now it's like every time you turn around, there's one. Amazon's got several. Netflix has several. They're coming from international markets, not just, America. And there's multiple publishers with multiple shows on the air. And there's stuff that you don't even think is based on comics that you forget about. So like Stumptown. Which was
I loved Stumptown.
Wasn't that a great show?
Yeah. She was so upset when it went off the air. I thought Colby Smulders just did knock that out of the park.
Well, COVID killed it. They were renewed, but COVID killed it. They couldn't get back into COVID protocols.
I thought
yeah.
There's 4 shows now that so there's the Rockford Files, and then Stumptown, which I thought was a great variation of female Rockford Files.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really good. Then I thought there's a show called Terriers.
Oh my gosh! Don't get me started on this one.
Which is fantastic. I discovered it by accident. Somebody recommended it to me. I found it on I forget what service had it,
Hulu.
And I just watched them one after the other. And then
it's about Yorkshire.
Yes, it absolutely.
Dogs,
tiny dogs that solve crimes. And there's another.
Oh my
another
God,
show.
I'm gonna have to go find
called
it. Thank you very much.
Holloway, which is very similar to the Rockford Files in feel. And I will gravitate towards these shows constantly. But Stumptown, I was really sad because I thought they had nailed it. I thought she was great. I thought the supporting cast was excellent, and just bam.
Yeah, I did some Superman annuals. Yes.
Barb, you want to answer that?
How did I get work on them? I had wonderful editors at DC. Kevin Dooley and Paul Kupperberg would give me everything. They were the most awesome editors. I enjoyed working with them so much. And every once in a while they'd lend me out to other editors because I was very fast.
Right.
And I spent 2.5 years on Impulse. So, and here going back to our conversation, I knew the storylines for those 2.5 years, but if you ask me, what about the storyline they're doing now, or what one before you? I don't know.
Who were you? Who were you inking? Who was the penciler?
I started out. I started out on Craig Rousseau, and ended up on Ethan Van Sciver.
Oh, okay. Now, Impulse was a great book.
It was
one of my favorites of the books that DC put out in that era. There were 2 that I liked. One was Superboy by Carl Kessel and Grummett.
Yep.
And the other was Impulse. I just thought they really captured the sort of the teenage superhero
very much
vibe without being pandering or without feeling like old men making teen superheroes.
Now, I think that would make a great TV show.
Impulse?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because special effects now you can do that.
Yeah. If the CW was around, that would be perfect for that because that was like the teen oriented.
Yes, it would be. It'd be the Riverdale of the DC universe.
That's right.
All right. So that's our topic. We're talking about favorite comic book TV shows. And I guess since I'm the host, I'm required to go first, but because I have a list. And my first and foremost is The Adventures of Superman, the one with George Reeves. I saw that when I was a kid. I didn't understand anything. I knew Superman was a comic book character. I knew that I knew he was Clark Kent. I knew Lois Lane. I knew that whole crew, but I didn't really understand it. But I loved it because it was the first. I mean, he flew. It was a goofy special effects, but he still flew. And I really love the way George Reeves played not so much Superman, but Clark Kent.
Yeah.
And I think it's the prototype for how Christopher Reeve played Clark Kent, where it's just he was never panicky. He was always very casual about it. He always knew what he was going to do. He was always very, this is a job for Superman. The worst thing I have to do is figure out where I'm going to change. And it just, the confidence that he had as Clark Kent really sort of informed any love I had for Superman. And that's my pick. So let's go around the horn.
All right,
I'll go next.
But that was a good choice. That's on my list too. So
as the next oldest on here, just a year younger than Tom, I was 7 years old when Batman came on with Adam West and Burt Ward, and I was entranced. I was not a normal girl child. I wasn't into dolls and stuff like that. I loved action shows, westerns, and comics. And I was.
We didn't call them dolls. We called them action figures.
Yes. There you go.
Collectibles.
Yeah, right.
And I was just entranced by by this whole Batman show. I wasn't a huge fan um, of Adam West because even then I knew he was chewing the scenery. But and even at 7 years old, I had a crush on Robin. But it was always fascinating to me how they always got out of trouble. And he was always pulling out, bat shark repellent and everything you could think of from that utility belt. But I never missed an episode if I could help it. I would have liked to have watched Dark Shadows too, but that was verboten in my household.
Right.
I had to sneak to watch episodes for that.
So who's your favorite Batman villain then on the TV show?
Oh, Wonder Woman. And I'm talking Julie Newmar because I don't think there was ever a better Catwoman than Julie Newmar. She was, to me, the epitome. And I mean, Eartha Kitt was very catty. And Lee Merriweather, she did an okay job. But, I mean, no, there was something about Julie. She was sex on high heels.
Well, I think she was the only Catwoman character who understood that she wanted to have sex with Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think there's once you realize that, there's an undercurrent of that sexual prowess in everything that she does. Matt Likes Comics is another great choice. I assume is that about the Superman show, or is that about the Batman show?
I think he wants the Batman show. I think that's the second one. Yeah. So
excellent. Yes, I think George, only because he's my first, and I think he was my first at a time when I didn't have a Superman, and I think that, and I was a kid when I saw these in reruns, and that's what stuck with me. So it's like, if I'd seen Christopher Reeve first, then I think Christopher Reeve would be my favorite, because I think Reeves is a direct descendant. Christopher Reeve is a direct descendant of George Reeves in terms of performance, and so I mean, it's really tight for me. It's George first, and then Christopher.
George is Clark Kent, and I think Christopher Reeve Superman.
Oh, there we go. Okay, that's a good way to split it up.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. All right, Mike Belcher speaks for me on these matters.
I'm your advocate.
That's right. All right, Tommy.
Well, of course, I'm going to have to go to Spider-Man. So it's the 81 to 83 Spider-Man and his amazing friends. I knew enough back then that Iceman was an X-Men for whatever reason. I always kept wondering why he was hanging out with Spider-Man. But then we had the what's her name, Firestar. I'm like, who? I still don't think we know who Firestar is. I think they just made her up. But that was always my favorite at the earliest stuff. Of course, I saw all the live action Batman stuff, but I guess I saw it in reruns because you guys are so much older than us. But I did see them all, but I guess I didn't see them when they originally came out. But of course, that Spider-Man and his amazing friends just always.
So is that the one? Is a Spider-Mobile in that one?
It might have been one episode. That was the one Stan Lee always moderate. He always did a voiceover for. And that's one of my first Spider-Man cartoons. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that one.
Did he speak in the Stan Lee voice? Was he talking about the True Believers?
True Believers.
Well, he's Stan Lee. Does he have another voice? That's the way.
Sometimes you think he might take it seriously and be, not be the Funky Flashman.
No, but that was pretty fun. I love those. Those are. I've got a DVD. I think it was a bootleg DVD, but I think I've got a DVD with all of them on there. I know you can find them on YouTube now. But
yes,
probably that's my most watched thing on Disney Plus. I watch it probably more than I should. I mean, it's the first. It's the first cartoon we had the X-Men. We had an Australian Wolverine. It's. We don't know how lucky we have it nowadays because I guess the cartoon kind of knew what was going to. They must have saw Hugh Jackman coming from 40 years beforehand,
right?
Because they cast somebody as as the voice of Wolverine was Australian in this cartoon, and then we eventually got a real Australian to play Wolverine. So,
all right. So, Mike, your pick?
Well, you took my Superman, which like I said, that was one of the first things I ever, after watching the Christopher Reeve movies, I was like, you find this stuff on TV, it's like, oh, there's another Superman. Oh, it's in black and white. Oh, it's in color. So I'm right there with you on that one. I'd have to put the Incredible Hulk. That was probably one of the things. I was obsessed with Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno. I absolutely ate that show up, and it's superheroes with the tried and true TV trope of the stranger comes to town and helps people out, and that never gets old because there's always people that need help.
And for a non-CGI era, they did a good job.
Yeah, they sure did.
Yeah, they did. Despite the footies on Lou Ferrigno to make sure he didn't hurt his feet.
That's right, the Crocs.
They say he took. I still think it's better than a lot of stuff we watch today.
I think
I think it ages well.
It was really good. I always, whenever I watched it, when he did the transformation thing, I always wondered. This is just my weird side. How does his pants never did pop off? Because he went from the small guy to the big Lou Ferrigno, and it's like he's still wearing pants. How did those pants? Because those pants weren't that big when they always threw me out of it.
But luckily it was the same.
His shirt flew off.
They had water cuffs. They had water cuffs, and so there was a little bit of room.
That's right. The genius idea for me about the Incredible Hulk is to make it two different people. Two different actors.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work if you try to dress up Bill Bixby and just put him in a costume.
Try to make him, yeah.
Whoever came up with the idea of, we should get the biggest bodybuilder we know who can almost act and put him in there, and that way they'll just flip him.
Yeah.
And also Bixby was a really good TV actor.
Oh yeah.
And he really, I don't think he could have ever been a movie star, but he is a great TV star. Like, he was made for television.
His pants always turn purple. Yeah, they did.
That's right.
Magically.
Bixby took every opportunity.
It went well with the green.
It was great.
Even if he was wearing like corduroys or whatever at the time, whenever he changed, boom, purple shorts. How did that happen?
Yeah.
Well, it's you have to sort of buy into it. I think if you start watching a TV show and you start going pants, then you've not bought into the key concept. It's like when you see Ferrigno in his little protective shoes. It's like if that takes you out of it, then you haven't bought in. And I think you have to. There's a certain part of these early shows from the 60s and 70s.
Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
You've got to buy into it. It's like it's like how does Luke Skywalker not cut off his own hand with his laser sword?
Yeah. And the thing with Bixby was he bought into it. I think he thought he was playing Shakespeare. I don't think he was thinking he was being demeaned doing a superhero show. I think he got it and he respected it.
And he also got to play all the emotional stuff with whoever in town had the problem.
Yeah.
He was the helper, and the Hulk was basically just his big gun. It's like, okay, I've pushed this problem as far as I can. I need a guy to throw a car.
Yep. And you remember, like a month ago, we talked about how Superman was a good movie to make, just because it was easy to do. All you do is put a guy in a cape, right, and pretend like he's fine. That's the same way with the Hulk. That's a great character to actually make a TV show. What do? You just paint a guy green, big muscle guy, boom, you got the Hulk.
And road shows are always popular.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because it's
like The Prisoner, and
it goes at least as far back as Have Gun Will Travel.
Easily, yeah.
Which is where he would ride into a town.
Solves a problem.
There's a story that's already happening. There's trauma or drama already in the town before the hero shows up, and that's going to unfold in some sort of negative way if the hero doesn't show up and insert themselves into the drama. And so it works with The Fugitive, it works with Have Gun Will Travel, it works with Starman, the TV show, it works with pretty much any show you can name. Supernatural. It's a great modern example.
Very good.
They got like 4 seasons out of that, trying to just get those people around. That's right. Matt Likes Comics weighs in with Canada had the littlest hobo, the dog that traveled and helped people. Yes, and those are terrible. Those I don't recommend dog rescue shows like that to anyone. Now all the Canadian dog fans are going to yell at me.
You've made
All right.
enemies.
So those are good. I got another one, and I'm going to go back to the past with Batman the Animated Series.
Ah!
There you go.
Is that
There's
yours?
my list.
Dummies.
Now I've got to go scratch that off my list. That was my next one. Thanks.
I think that's great. I think it takes the best elements of Tim Burton's Batman movies and it makes it into an animated series, and it made Bruce Timm a star, and all the other guys and women who worked on that show. They just really captured that Batman gothic vibe, and they really had great stories from guys like Paul Dini and other folks. It really made Batman and Gotham City, and Gotham became a secondary character in the show, and they revived a bunch of great Batman villains from the Rogues Gallery, and I think wasn't Mark Hamill the Joker?
Yep.
Yeah.
Fantastic voice cast. I think it was done by Andrea Romano, was the casting director and voice director.
And done radio style. They were all in the room at the exact same time for the entire show.
Yes.
Like they were acting it out.
Feed off of each other. Yeah.
Yes, because they do it. You just phone it in from home, and you don't get that same vibe that you get when everybody's in the room together, playing off each other and coming up with little bits of business. And so I vote for that. A beautiful art direction, great storytelling. The music was, it's sort of inspired by Danny Elfman's score, very dramatic, and the stories were not really predictable. They weren't necessarily. You knew Batman was going to win, but it still got tense. So,
and they were comic book stories. They weren't TV stories. They were stories that we had been accustomed to reading from, Denny O'Neil and Frank Miller. These were stories, and that show was the distilled version of Batman. They got it perfect. There wasn't anything about that show that wasn't executed just perfectly.
And I understand why studio executives are stupid this way, but why wouldn't you give Bruce Timm a Batman movie in live action and say, make this thing, here's half the budget of a Matt Reeves movie, make me a Batman movie with all the charm and wonder of Batman the Animated Series. Yeah. And, that's why I'm not a studio head. All right, Barb.
All right. Well, and here's a caveat. You're not going to get much from me from the late 80s and all through the 90s because I was raising kids, being a wife.
Excuses.
Being a wife and turning out 2+ books a month. So that's a whole big gap in my watching. But I'm going to go back to a comic strip that was made into a TV show, and that's The Addams Family.
Nice.
And Wednesday. I love the
Isn't
Wednesday.
That great?
Oh, it's awesome. Yes, the thing.
The kid they have playing Wednesday, Jenna Ortega, she's great. Like, she embodies. I almost want to say she's better than Christina Ricci in terms of the embodiment of the character, but I know that the internet will explode on me if I do that. But because her portrayal is different,
right?
But anyway.
And the second season's coming out soon.
But you could have seen Christina Ricci growing into this girl. Christina Ricci was only like 11 or 12 in the movies.
Yes.
But you could see her being this older version of Wednesday. And I think that's what makes it so great too.
Yes.
Yes. I liked the original Addams Family TV show. But I love the Wednesday. And I love the movies too. However, there's a caveat on that. Right? The movies made Gomez good looking. Now the original Gomez looked like the father in Wednesday. He was very ugly.
Yes.
And everybody had a fit when Wednesday started, and
he was ugly.
And there's Catherine Zeta-Jones with this horribly, plain ugly man with bad teeth. I'm like, but if you go back and look at the original comic strips, that is exactly.
Yeah. I will say that Addams Family is one of the best examples of a traditional loving family.
Yeah.
Despite its weirdness, that Gomez and Morticia love each other unconditionally. They never do that story of the mistaken spouse who might be cheating. They always trust each other. They always They always bind together to, against the common enemy, and they
After
are.
years of being married, they're still passionate about it.
Yes, I mean, all Tish has to do is speak French, and Gomez is he's like the wolf in a Tex Avery cartoon. And I think it's just a great. Yeah, you mean like real life? Says Smile. Yes, just like real life. And so I think that's a great example of and it's survived. I mean, the 1960s TV show, the 2 movies, and now Wednesday. You can there's so much you can do.
Long span.
Yeah,
I think it could go for a lot longer too, because it's so adaptable.
Yes, yeah, because you can put those characters into almost any situation and just see what happens. Putting Wednesday into the all-girls school.
Yeah, that was a stroke of genius.
Genius. A great idea. I would never have it, but now I can't get enough of it. All right, Tommy. Now that I've taken an idea from Mike and an idea from you.
I've got a whole bunch of them over here. I'm going to jump to the Tick.
Too.
The Tick has always been my favorite. I've got a bunch of the comics at the time, but the animated series from I've gotten here from 94 to 96, with all those action figures and stuff. That was the time when I first was getting. It's kind of like with the Batman. What we were talking. That's when I was breaking into comics, and and setting up a studio. I just remember watching those. The shows and getting all the action figures and putting them up on the wall, and Barry Gregory and I we would try to get to Walmart or whatever to try to get the other figures from each other. And look what I found! I got the cow, I got the mad cow, and it's like, oh man, you get the mad cow, the one character that I
all the man-eating cow.
Yeah, and and then also the 2000s what's it, the Patrick Warburton, right?
Yeah,
live action one.
Yeah, the actual live action. What those were. Yeah, the Tick was fun.
So I came to the Tick late because I thought I love the comic and there's no way they're going to do it justice on TV, so I'm not going to bother. And then I caught an episode, the one that kills me with Chairface Chippendale, because his head is a chair, and I thought, okay, I'm in. And I watched
that new one, the one that came out a couple of years back. So good. But the other ones I really enjoy.
Yeah, they are.
Well, I love the live action one too, because it's basically
the early live action one, the one that was in 2001.
Yeah, the Patrick Warburton one with Batman.
He made a good Tick. He made a great Tick.
Yeah,
we actually were at it was Pensacon with him. We got to eat dinner with him when he talked about it a little bit. He said how much fun it was he had when he was doing it. So that was pretty cool.
That is cool. Did he seem like a good guy? Because he seems like a good guy.
He was. Well, he tries to. It's that voice that messes you up, because all of a sudden, and then when he doesn't do the voice, then you're like, because he's still got a really low voice, but then he turns that voice on and you go, yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah, well, because it's like Matt brought up Kevin Conroy in the comments. And Kevin Conroy has that voice, and when you hear him speak normally, he still kind of sounds like Batman, but he also just sounds like a guy ordering a hamburger.
Yep.
And so it's always interesting when an actor is known for a voice, but it's not their real voice. All right, that's good. The Tick is a great example. All right, Mike.
Yeah, I love the Tick cartoon. I love the Warbler. But Ben Antler was in charge of that one for Amazon a few years ago, and I was really shocked how bad it was.
Yeah,
I was really hoping for better. And
I think I watched 3 or 4 episodes, 2 episodes, and I was like, nah. It's lasted 3 years though, but
all right. So
I don't get it.
So, Agent Cub waves in with, what was your favorite comic book TV show, and why did you pick Nightman? I picked Nightman because I got a check. And that's
I was gonna say, yeah, Malibu, yay!
Yeah, I got a check for Nightman and a check for Ultra Force. So those are my absolute favorites.
Yeah,
because somebody paid me. But I've never sat through an episode of Nightman. So
they're hard to watch. I've watched a bunch.
I caught one.
No,
I felt brand loyalty because I was working for Malibu, so I caught one episode and I'm like,
Yeah, there forever. When I was inking, I always had one of the little Nightman action figures I'd put on my lamp and everything. And everybody's like, "Why do you have him up there? Do you like Nightman?" I was like, "I just worked on him for like 50 issues. I don't know."
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing that turned me off about the show, even before it was on, was the fact that they were hyping what he drove. Look at the sleek Pontiac. What was it?
Whatever that car was. Yeah,
it was the star of the show because I guess no one cared about the rest of it. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Okay. I'm not interested.
That was a cool car. That was a cool car.
Okay, I guess a choice. I'm going straight. The one of the best TV adaptations that I've watched as long as I've been alive is, quite honestly, is Netflix's Daredevil.
Yes.
The first season of Netflix's Daredevil is comic book perfection. I mean, and it is done by people that appreciated the character, adapted it for a TV situation, and I have to fight to not watch that show on repeat on my DVDs.
Bye, Matt. Have a good night.
So what do you think makes it work for you?
It gets the Matt Murdock character, and I think that the relationships because I think that the Miller years, he really did a lot to build the personal relationships between the three, and then separated them.
Right.
And then again, the Matt Murdock character over the years, I think is. You get kind of a wavering, and I think just like the Batman animated series, these guys kind of took the Matt Murdock character and distilled him down to the sense of responsibility and anger, and also just his need to have what he didn't have growing up, which was kind of a family. And again, it's like David just said, it captures his angst, and the supporting cast is perfect. And like I said, the first year it builds up both him and Fisk. Just like I said, that when you watch a comic adaptation, the problem is you almost at heart you want it to be like the comic, right? But then when you do it, it's like, well, in the back of your head, it's like, well, I kind of saw this. Right. I want to see what actors bring to it, but I also don't want them to deviate where Incredible Hulk goes to trial or whatever, and what's his face was Daredevil wearing a black suit,
right?
And that was completely off brand, but like I said, he wasn't Daredevil in the costume, and it wasn't even a Daredevil costume per se into the last episode, but it rang true.
Right.
It just threw out.
Thanks, Agent Tub. You ruined it. I'll take that off my list.
No, we're still going to get to you. You're still going to talk about it.
But
well, what do you think about Donfro as
yeah, again, there's not a bad casting in it. I mean, seriously, I think D'Onofrio, as a comic book fan, you saw him being a fan. I think he got Fisk. I think them kind of portraying Fisk as this kind of Asperger's, kind of on the spectrum kind of character, and then you build up the fact that he wanted to be something, and he wanted something. The villain had purpose.
Right.
There was a purpose to the villain. It wasn't just I want to take over the world or I want to take over the city. There was reason behind it, and when he didn't get it, he broke bad very legitimately. It felt like I said, it felt like it was earned. I felt like Matt earned the he putting on the outfit. I felt like it was earned. And the other two seasons are good too. But the first season is comic book perfection because again, they did what you need to do on an adaptation. Take the spirit of the comic. Don't give it to me verbatim, but give it to me through it, and write new stories for me. Be legitimate to the origins of the story, but give me something that also melds it with TV.
Because I think what's happened over the last several years, maybe a couple of decades, is that the producers and the showrunners who make these things have understood that it's not about putting somebody in a cape or a costume. It's more about getting down to the core of the character and then drilling down into that and then using that to find a great actor or actress to come in and play that. So you're not, okay, so Daredevil is a guy in a suit who fights crime. That's not the pitch. The pitch is Daredevil is this troubled, angst-ridden guy with a sense of purpose, and the Kingpin is another troubled guy with a different sense of purpose. And so I think that is that's what's resulted in better shows and better performers playing these characters.
And Charlie Cox being British and being another Brit that came over here, I wasn't quite offended by him doing in New York, because I think he nailed, again, the character. I probably had a man crush on him, but I'll be quite honest with you, but because he was so good. But
listen, who doesn't love British men?
So I mean, like I said, I think he adapted to the character, and I think from what I see online, he appreciates the character, and it doesn't feel like being, again, another Bill Bixby situation. He doesn't feel talked down to as being a comic book actor.
Right.
He feels blessed to be the character.
Yeah, and I think that's true of a number of actors in these types of shows and movies, where they find a way to identify with these characters and bring them just as if they were starring in Breaking Bad, or just as if they were in The Sopranos. It's the same kind of deal.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like I said, you just have to find the character.
All right, I got another one. This is the odd one. I'm going to say Creature Commandos, which just came out on HBO Max or Max.
I've watched it.
I haven't seen it.
It is. So it's James Gunn is the producer. That's right. Agent Cub says you could choose Loki, Thomas. That
was a good one.
Okay. Well, that is a good one.
So Creature Commandos began as a backup, I think, in Weird War Tales. It was basically just monsters fighting World War II. That has evolved in the telling of that story over the years. There's a different miniseries, I think, that's out. And this one basically takes monsters, and it's different monsters. And they are, it's fun. It has the same tone as The Boys or Peacemaker, and it has a more, it's not a kids show necessarily. It has a very adult storyline. There's love, there's romance, there's violence, there's crazy stuff, and there's tragedy, because it's a James Gunn show, and James Gunn always has to kill somebody before the end of the thing. And I think it's just really well done. All right. Josh Perry, welcome. Good to see you.
Hi, Josh.
Thanks for hanging out. And so that's my vote. It's I believe it's 8 episodes, HBO Max. I recommend it, even though it's animated. So
being animated doesn't disqualify anything. They could be just as good.
Yeah. No, it's the thing is, the relationships in the show, well, like any of these shows where the relationships are strong, you can't watch it passively. Like, I know there's some shows that you can just turn on and just walk around the house and do other stuff. A lot of these shows are shows where I have to sit down and I have to get into it. I can't do other things. So Agent Cub says I need to finish watching it. Agent Cub, did you like it? Because the ending is killer. So, all right, Barb, we'll go back to you.
Okay. Resident Alien.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yes. Oh, so good.
Alan Tudyk.
He's great.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he went all in on this character. He didn't hold anything back, and he's just hilarious. And the funny thing is, up until he started starring in that show, he was a background character. He was like a second tier actor, and then he got his big break on this, and he just went for it. And I think the storyline is funny. I think the cast has got some real juicy pieces, but all the way underneath everything that's going on, all the funny part is this heartwarming search for humanity. It's him learning how to be human and everything that goes along with being human. So there's a real touching tenderness to watching it that is underneath all of the funny, silly stuff and the slapstick.
And there's a real arc to it too, because in the beginning, in the first season, he basically says whenever he does something good or somebody does something good for him, he goes, I will let them live, or I will kill them later. And because that's part of his mission. And then he sort of grows into, well, I don't have to kill everybody that I see. I can use these people. And then they sort of become his friends. And I think that's a really good arc for his character.
Yeah, I'm with David here. I'm curious, was the comic name the same thing?
Yes, it's a Dark Horse comic, I believe.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. Comic book. It is created by Peter Hogan and Steve. Yep, Dark Horse. Steve Parkhouse from Dark Horse Comics. So,
and I haven't read the comic, so I don't know how closely it follows the show or not. But the show is great.
It was great. Josh, we're doing TV shows based on comics.
Yes.
There. Yeah. What if there was a multiverse?
Yeah, what if? Then Mike would be driven crazy if there was a multiverse.
So anyway, that was my next pick. I have got several others, but we'll run out of time way before that. But they really, really, really did a good job of doing a dramedy.
Yes. So what would you think? What would you think if they switched the roles of the two women and made the loopy one the co-star and the more serious one?
I don't think it would work because that he is in love with oh God, I can't remember her name now. The Native American gal.
Yes.
He's in love with her, but he doesn't know what it is. He doesn't know,
Right, but he's not going to kill her.
No, he knows what lust is, but he doesn't know what love is, not really. And even though he's already in love, he doesn't recognize it.
Yes.
For what it is.
No, I like oh wait, don't tell.
Yeah, that's another one on my list is the what if.
What if? Yeah.
Yeah.
Chronicles of Multiverse. Yeah, it does. I like it though.
Yeah. It's one of the ones on my list, so I'll cross that one off, I guess.
That's it. All right. Tommy?
Yeah, I'm still going to go with The Walking Dead. That's we all know what it's about. We know that I'm a big zombie fan, but I like the comic books so much at the beginning anyway, because it's not really about the zombies. It's more about the relationship of all the people, and the other folks that are running around are really the bad guys, not the zombies. The zombies are just basically, your animals out in the woods doing what animals do, kind of a thing, to survive. So that's not really what the whole thing is about. Of course, they are fighting, against them when they hoard up and do all their stuff, but it's really about the relationship of all the people and stuff. And the TV show was really, really good at following the comics until the producers and the showrunners thought that they knew better. And
spin-offs.
Yeah, and no, even way before that. It's before to me, it's when even before, it was roughly about when Negan came into the TV show, and it's like if they do Negan, if what is it, 80s? No, it's who did AMC? Like if they let them do, because there was rumors that they're going to let them do Negan the way that he is in the comic, which is a bad guy that cusses all the time and uses the F word more than any other word. I think it would have really fixed the whole show, but they didn't. They turned him into a wuss, and the whole thing just went. So I never even finished watching the first run or the first thing because I just got so disappointed. But I just it was just really cool seeing them, the trying to survive against the other bad guy people that were also trying to survive but doing really bad things, and it was that all those relationships and stuff. So I really liked it because of that, and the art was always cool.
I liked it because for a while it was just appointment television for me, where it's like, a new episode is going to drop. I gotta see what's going to happen. I gotta see how they get out of it.
And whatever they did, that lightning in a bottle thing, it's super, super popular. There was back when it was really hitting it pretty good. It was getting way more people watching it than there were the Sunday night football, right?
Yes.
The Walking Dead was killing football as far as the ratings were going. So it was hot. I mean, there's conventions started up just for zombies,
Right.
For this stuff. That's how big it was. And then the producers and them they just ruined it.
Well, I think the great thing for me, and the thing that fascinates me about Walking Dead fandom or Walking Dead success, is that they had another show after Walking Dead where they talked about the show you just watched. So they basically made a talk show,
The Talking Dead or whatever it was.
Talking Dead.
And I thought I would like to see that with other shows that
we watched it too. Renee and I watched. I don't know how many stupid podcast stuff that my wife and I would listen to, because we were just ate up with it. Barry and I, even Barry Gregory, we were going to do our own little podcast where we were going to call it the Nitpicking Dead. We were just going to take it all apart and rip it to shreds and just make fun of it. We even filmed an episode or two. We never put it out, but we were so all in. This is cool stuff. And then they ruined it, just like they do. That's it. I'm done.
I think every show has the potential to sort of get lost along the way.
Yep.
And sort of ruin itself for
Jump
any
the
number
shark.
of reasons. Yeah, jump the shark. All right, Mike.
I'm going to hit animation, and Tommy might be happy with this one. The late 2000s Spectacular Spider-Man.
Ooh.
And quite honestly, that was a great show, and it was what Batman animated did. It had a quirky style, had an awesome theme song. I mean, it just stuck in your head, and the way they were able to get a lot of those Lee and Kirby and Ditko characters across, and Gwen Stacy was the girl, and I enjoyed that for that. But again, it gave, and what I liked about it, even more so than a lot of other animated, it gave you the impression they were going to do things different. That whole first season, they were leading you down different ways. That the Green Goblin wasn't Norman Osborn, and it was doing all these things and giving you a lot of red herrings, and a lot of the characters are, again, it looks like, they're doing another. They're trying to do their TV thing on me. They're not sticking to the origins of the character, and they just hoodwink you. And it is every bit what those Lee and Ditko comics were.
I think
it just amazed me how great. And like I said, the style, the Sean Galloway designs. I mean, this just shows you. I have the action figures on my desk constantly. I love this design. I love the whole period of time. It just, like I said, it just hit a great note, and it suffered with Marvel getting the cartoon rights back, because they canceled it as soon as Marvel got the rights back, and just completely Disney-fied and killed it, because those guys really had their pulse, their finger on the Spider-Man pulse.
What do you think of David's question?
Yeah.
I haven't watched the new one. It's on Disney Plus. I've thought about watching it. The animation looked interesting to me, and I was trying to remember. I think Paulo Rivera did the designs for it. It's just one of those shows I haven't got to yet. I have a long list.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Yeah.
Is that the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Is that the one? Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear it's very good. It's on my list to watch, but I don't have Disney Plus. Like many people, I only subscribe when there's enough stuff on the channel for me to blow through in like 2 months, and then I cancel it again. I don't sign up forever. And so
I found out recently. I've had Hulu forever. I like Hulu. Most of the stuff on it, you can add Disney Plus for $1. I just did it. Yeah, I was like, okay,
they're all linked together now.
Yeah, you could just get it for $1. It's like, I can do that. Okay.
Where is this?
If you've got a Hulu subscription without ads, it's got to be the one without ads.
Right.
But you can add Disney Plus for $1.
Well, we had Disney Plus through my son's account for a while, because you could add different accounts to it.
Yeah.
And then they followed Netflix's style, and now if you're not under the same ISP, or not ISP,
the IP address.
address.
So they can get you at least in the same house.
Yeah. So they cut me off, and now I don't get it anymore.
Aw.
I'm not going to pay for it either.
Well, you gotta think of whatever you're subscribing to. Just watch everything there, then take that money and move it to something else. Cut that one off for a while until it builds back up.
So David says, please feed his 401k. Well, for $1 more, I might have to do that.
All right.
But I don't think I can get Hulu in Canada.
Prime and
so I think I'm
Netflix.
out. All right, should we go around one more time?
One more time.
All right,
Cool.
I'll do one more. I'm
find
gonna
a good
go.
one on my list.
I'm gonna go with one out of the box. I'm gonna say Pennyworth,
Ooh.
which is the TV show based on
Alfred.
Batman's butler Alfred when he was a young man. And when I first heard this idea, like with everything, I said, well, that's just a stupid idea. Who wants to hear about Batman's butler? But they turn it into this weird sort of spy supervillain, almost gothic, almost steampunk kind of show that is just insane. And I stumbled across it by accident thinking, I'm not going to watch this. And then I got sucked in, and then I started watching all of them. And it's really, you sort of forget that you're watching Batman's butler as an agent of MI6 or MI5 or whatever it is. And you just enjoy it for what it really is, which is a really good sort of wacky spy show with over-the-top villains and a lot of weird twists and turns. And, I was hooked. I thought the first season was fantastic. And then it sort of progressively less fantastic as it went along. But that first season, top notch. And I can tell by everyone's expression that I'm the only one that watched it.
Yeah,
So far.
I have not seen it.
All righty. Well, I'm going to go in a little bit of a weird way, but because it gave so much joy to my children, I'm going to go with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Because
Heroes in a Half Shell.
That's a good one. I don't know why we didn't say that one already.
Yeah, my kids were so hooked on that for years. And every time I went to a convention, I'd have to come home with more gear or sketches from the original artists or whatever. But I mean, they have totes of stuff. And now my grandson is playing with those totes of toys that I kept. It's just, it has lasted so long. It has really stood the test of time. And it was a great concept. I mean, who would even think of making turtles into superheroes? But I mean, my husband even had to take my kids to the live action concert in Chicago one time. So, and that was when I was at a show.
Was that Turtles on Ice, or was that something different?
No, this was a live show. It wasn't ice. But
Okay.
but for that reason alone, that it gave my children so much enjoyment and kept them out of my hair. I used to have videos of them playing as the turtles. They had their favorites, and they had the little masks, and they had the sai and the nunchucks and all that stuff, and they would chase each other around the house and fall down the stairs and whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for that reason, I'm going to say that's one of my favorites.
Well, I think, and the thing about Turtles is they've done, as the animation has improved over the years, they've done a lot more iterations of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Mm-hmm. And there's I forget which one is the current one, but one of the recent ones, is like super funny and super well done, and has a similar look to Batman the Animated Series. And
cool. I'm gonna have to find that one for my grandson.
Yeah, I recommend it because it's really, because I'm out of the target audience for most of this stuff anyway, but I still get sucked in. And
I mean, I don't have a choice because first of all, the first time around, my kids had the TV on, so I caught them whether I wanted to or not. The second time around, I have grandkids. I watch it whether I want to or not. It's generational.
I think the '87 Turtles did a great job. I mean, they introduced the concept to the masses.
Yes.
And I think it was so masterful because it just was like a storm. It just hit, and it just lasted for years. And then when it was dying down, you just had kind of an undercurrent. But then they came back in 2000, and it was an even better cartoon. You know, it
Yes.
was actually, it was, it was post Batman animated series, and you got the Turtles from the comic, because the Turtles in the '87 were, the basic story was there, but it wasn't the comic.
Right.
But the one in the early 2000s, that was the more of the comic, and
Yes.
and that's the one Aiden got to watch, and I certainly got to enjoy it too. So it's got legs, no matter
Yeah.
what.
Oh boy, does it.
Yeah.
And that's one of those lightning in the bottle things where just two dudes is sitting around going, "Hey, we should do a parody of Frank Miller's Daredevil, but they're turtles."
And they did it on a copy machine in the basement.
Yeah.
It was the first ones.
Yeah.
That just blows your mind. And now they're like multimillionaires.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's great.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Great American
that is
story.
sort of, it's like the high watermark or whatever it is for what you want as, I mean, yeah, you want to still create and do your own stuff or whatever, but occasionally there's somebody out there who hits the jackpot and it's like, I bet that could happen to me.
That's right. That's what keeps you going sometimes.
Yes. Yeah, especially when it's like 2 a.m. and you're inking away or coloring away and you think, why am I doing this? And then you think, okay, turtles money.
Turtle money.
Tommy.
And I decided not to because it was just way too complicated. I was going to say the Umbrella Academy. Y'all
Oh yeah.
read those? I never read any of the comics, but the TV show was just so cool, and it was just so complicated because it had a lot of time travel and stuff. But I couldn't even explain what that show was about. But it was really good. Y'all should watch it.
Yes.
But I'm switching to DC's Lucifer. Did y'all see the Lucifer TV show?
Yes.
Yep.
So it's so good. I forgot it was a DC show.
Yeah, I've never read the comics. I do have a big trade. One of my buddies gave me a trade of the whole thing. They said, "You like Lucifer so much, you ought to read the trades." It's not really, supposedly, it's not too much like the comics, but I mean, it's a show where the devil basically doesn't want to be the devil anymore, and he just wants to do good stuff, and he's using his powers and stuff to try to. And he hooks up with a police officer. I think her name was Chloe, if I remember.
Chloe.
It was really good, but it had a lot of beautiful people on the TV show. That was what was really cool. So you're watching it the whole time going, yeah, this is some really pretty people.
Well, and the thing is, it's I think it's Tom Ellis is
Tom
Ellis. He's great. Like he plays that character perfectly, and
he
makes
did.
the whole show.
It was really fun. I mean, it was another one of those little, didn't mean much of nothing. When it was over with, you're like, yeah, that was really cool. I loved it. It didn't mean anything. It didn't have anything to do with anything. It wasn't trying to accomplish anything but for you to have a little good time, even though it had to do with the devil, but it's still
it's basically the same setup as Bones, only one of them is Satan.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good show.
Now I got a huge. He's got another show coming out this fall. He is on the FBI CIA spinoff, which I forget what it's called, but he plays a Lucifer type CIA agent. So kind of a loose cannon with a female partner.
We can call that a kind of a crossover because it had the Smallville guy was in it for a little while.
There you go.
Superman dude, he was in it.
All right,
he was Solomon Grundy or something. I can't remember. But anyway,
Mr. Mike, that's a good choice, Tommy. Mr. Mike, you're taking us out with the last one.
Because my final choice of the night is Smallville.
we love Smallville.
Smallville was a great show, and it was the first show that I felt like these guys, are my age because they're Byrne Superman fans. Because this show is the Byrne Superman wrapped up in a CW, WB, whatever team show.
With pretty people.
But they were able to fool this network into letting them put this comic book show on, as long as they had Clark mooning over Lana, and that's all the network needed was for that little romance or whatever. But other than that, it was comics. It was these guys that respected it.
And a lot of my non-comic book people loved the show because they knew he was Superman, but it's like he never put on the suit, so they were fine with it, and they still loved it. When they're like, I like this show because it's not Superman. I'm like, well, it is Superman, but he just doesn't put the outfit on. Yeah.
And quite frankly, the best Lex Luthor since Gene Hackman.
He's that guy. Yeah.
That guy, Michael Rosenbaum was just everything
he
you
should
needed.
Still be Lex Luthor, regardless of what movie's coming out. They should still let him be Lex Luthor because he did such a good job.
It's just scary how good, because you get you get the tinges where this guy, he's not broke bad yet, but it's there. So
Yeah. It was a good
Right.
show.
So, Mike, there's a question for you because David Ace Gutierrez doesn't want me to speak anymore.
When that Superboy came on, I didn't care for it. I didn't care for the first actor that played it. I didn't care for any of the stories. And I just felt like, what's going on with this thing? This is another Salkin crap show. I mean, come on, this is Superboy. And then, but when they changed actors and they started using a comic book writer, Denny O'Neil wrote. Gosh, I don't know how many other guys that were comic book guys started writing the scripts, and that show got so much better. I mean, it really that it's kind of a forgotten gem of comics. I mean, I forgot about it, but when I think it's on Hulu or I think it's on Tubi. I'll watch an episode, and I think they're still. I don't know if they necessarily hold up because it's very cheap. You could tell it was cable syndication money.
Right.
They did what they had to, but I felt like those stories got remarkably better when they cast it. Yeah, Carrie Bates and Mike Carlin. They like I said, they had some comic book guys on there, and the show I mean, and the guy they played Mixelpick, I mean, he was perfect. What was his name?
It's Michael J. Pollard, isn't it?
There you go. That's a perfect casting. Come on. I mean, and it was like I said, it was just well done. But that first season was rough. I'm surprised they were able to get to the point to make it better.
But the comic book guys weren't in charge of the first season, were Carrie Bates and Cumberbatch.
No, that's what I said. It was just another. They tried to make a Superboy show with more of the Christopher Reeve vibe, and I think after that, after the guy, I think he had drug problems or something, they fired him, and so they brought a new guy in, and then they kind of changed the vibe of the show,
right?
Where it felt more, instead of like the movies, it felt more like the comics. They leaned more to the comics, and of course it got better. Of course, it could be because I appreciated it more. Right. But I think it did get better in ratings as far as I think they went 4 or 5 seasons. So
you were a year older too, so maybe you matured.
Yeah, but I appreciate it. But like I said, that first season was rough, but I did enjoy the Superboy series. That was pretty good.
All right, everybody, we are out. That was our topic for tonight. That was our show. Thanks to everybody for participating. And Barb, thank you for running the board. Thank you for joining us and participating. It's always a pleasure to see you. Everybody be sure to check out Divinity #1 if you can find it in your comic shops. And Tuesday, we have another podcast coming up. I do not know what we're talking about because I don't do research. But Wednesday Wham is Barb's show. And Barb, what is it about?
I don't know because Kaz is running that one. I share the hosting duties with a couple others, so I can't remember what it is.
I think if you enjoyed Barb on this show, you will enjoy Barb on her own show. I think that's good advice. And so that's it, everybody. Thank you all for participating. Thanks for the many good comments that we got. Thanks to all the viewers. And I think as we go out, what do we always say?
Make mine Silverline.
Roland will be back next week with a full report.
Hi, I'm Greg Horn. Make mine Silverline.